Hello, I'm Elizabeth, an obsessive backyard gardener who might be able to offer you a couple of tips.
And I'm Keith, a landscape consultant, and I'm also passionate about gardening.
The one thing we both have in common is muddy boots. Welcome back to Loose Leaf, our regular Muddy Boots catch-up where Keith and I talk about what we've been up to over the past few weeks, both in our gardens and beyond. There's always plenty to chat about, so let's dig into what's been happening since our last Loose Leaf, and I know that Keith would like to have a bit of a chat about what he's been doing. What have you been doing?
I've been doing one thing in particular, and that's a huge garden design. I think I mentioned it probably the last Loose Leaf. This is a huge garden. The property is in southern New South Wales at a place called Hopefield, which is near Corowa in the wine district there. And it is an incredible brief that this lovely client has given me, set out a lot of things that she wanted me to achieve with her garden.
She was the one with the driveways and all sorts of things you had to design. Is that the one?
Yeah, this is a long driveway up to the house,
Yep.
which is 310 metres long, the driveway.
Yep.
And then you come into an old, very, very old part of the garden where, trees have just got beyond themselves, looking a bit ordinary. So part of the brief was, because this is a working farm,
Yes.
she was worried about having bushfires or fires coming onto the property.
Understandably.
So part of the brief there was to make sure that all the perimeter planting that we put in was going to be plants that are classified as fire retardant.
Yep.
So those sorts of plants are things best like a lot of the European oaks, for instance. They hold enormous amounts of moisture in their leaves, and then they drop their leaves, and that's just then they're deciduous. But that time of the year they've done all that. It's normally the colder months.
Yep.
But what I've done with a lot of those sections, for instance, is I've underplanted all of those oak trees with saltbush.
Oh, beautiful.
Which is it's a fabulous emergency fodder for sheep. Mm-hmm. They love it.
Okay.
But it's also a plant that picks up enormous amounts of moisture out of the soil and holds it within the plant. So it is very, very hard to burn. So that is a real buffer zone.
Should be happy with that.
And then all the other plants that went within this particular garden design are all plants that are suited to the climate, and we're talking where they get really, really cold frosts and so forth, and then very, very extreme heat areas. So I think I mentioned last time that where we live down here on the Mornington Peninsula, our heat zone and cold zone is 4 and 10. So 4 for the heat zone is really, really, well, we get hot days, but nothing like they are.
No.
Her heat zone there is 7.
Right.
So it's three times, hotter up there for longer periods of time. So all the plants have got to be able to live in that particular environment.
And quite cold in winter.
Yeah. So our cold
Frosty.
zone is 10 here, and hers is 9B. So a little bit off, but you've still got to make sure that your plant selection is going to fit within those parameters for it in order for it to work.
Good challenge for you then.
And look, it's a job because of the size of the actual job. It's taken me nearly a month of work.
Wow.
On the drawing board.
Yeah.
So working all the things out. And the first thing we had to establish in that particular garden design was driveways. And that driveways had to be wide enough that they could bring in heavy machinery because it's a working farm.
Right.
So the driveways are 6 metres wide.
Oh, wow.
And then her own driveway to the carport is a normal 3 metre wide driveway.
Gravel driveways?
These are going to be all gravel.
Yep.
And then the soil out there is a clay, and that particular clay has a pH of 5. So we need to add amendments to that soil to bring that pH up. So we're going to be using a lot of Clyde compost, which she's going to be coming down and having picked up in bulk on trucks, because there's trucks going all over the place delivering,
whatever she's
their
got
products
on the
that
farm.
they grow on the farm.
Yep.
And of course, they're coming back to the farm empty.
Well,
so
there you go.
we're
Perfect
going to
opportunity.
be it's a great opportunity to come and pick up bulk loads of product.
Great for Clyde compost as well.
Yeah, great. And we're going to be
order.
using a lignite humate mix with that.
Yep.
Even though the lignite humate has a low pH of 5.5, it's still higher than 5. So it's going to help to pull that up. And then, of course, the compost that we're adding to that, into that, which is at 7, is going to provide a beautiful buffer in that soil for those beautiful plants to establish themselves
Fantastic.
with.
And you've got to finish the design and she's happy.
Finished the design. I drove all the way up there, which is from down here in Melbourne. It's a 4.5-hour drive up the Hume through the fires that were there, the smoke in the air, and all that sort of stuff.
Drove through the fires.
Drove up through the smoke. I never saw any fires, but
good.
I presented the plan. We sat down and laid it out, and the actual size of her design is AO. So your designs are all A1. And this is AO. So this is a enormous sheet of paper that's all hand drawn, coloured, and all the rest of it. That I presented with it. So part of the brief in that was to have. She wants roses within the garden, but not as a formal rose garden. So the roses are dotted through a perennial garden bed that we put in.
Yep. Lovely.
She wanted to have some areas for children to play on lawns with a shade tree somewhere so that they could put perhaps a trampoline underneath the big shade tree, or the kids could play under the shade tree. So I think there's 5 lawn areas that are all contained with garden beds all the way around them with just 2 metre wide lawn pathways that go to the next lawn area. So these are all garden rooms that are being created, the whole thing. And you enter each new lawn area underneath canopies of trees. So we've got things like Malisaioensis plena, which is the crab apples.
Yes, beautiful crab apple. Yeah.
And then another section we've got Simon's poplar as the actual plant that you go in underneath it. And then there's some beautiful maples you drive through underneath, and then lots and lots of beautiful deciduous trees that are going to provide beautiful autumn colour with their leaves and so forth, lighting up.
Yep.
But enough.
Let the light in winter. Yep.
But then enough plants that will carry that interest all the way through the season.
Sounds beautiful, Keith. You'll have to show some photos. So hopefully she'll provide us with some photos so we can see how it actually evolves. We'll
do all that. We can.
Been a busy boy. Sounds
been a busy
lovely.
boy. So that's and I'm still working on, even though the main design's finished. One of the issues that she has there is because it's so flat that she was worried that when they get storms and they're getting 50 mil of rain in half an hour or something.
Probably today, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we're going to have to put cut-off drains all the way around a part of the house and then track it across underneath the driveway to where there is a drain. So it's over that 70 metres away where the new drain is, we've only got fall of about 300 mil.
Wow.
So it's not much fall across that particular part of the land.
Amazing. Well, that's fantastic. You've just about taken up all the time, I think, we're talking about that. So we now have to do an ad because we have to think about what is keeping Muddy Boots growing. And today's sponsor is Wormley. No matter how small your garden or your apartment balcony, you too can turn your kitchen scraps into garden gold. Wormley is a brand new compact and stylish worm farm made from plant-based materials that will fit anywhere in your home. With its clever design, it is easy, tidy and perfect for any gardener who wants to make a big impact with small effort. Small worm farms, big impact. Visit wormley.com.au to get your Wormley and start turning scraps into healthy, nutrient-rich soil for your garden today.
And I think they were absolutely fantastic. I've got one of my own. Yeah, we both got one in our beds. And I think one of the most important things about the Wormley worm farms is that they are in the ground. So they are not above the ground where they're attracting enormous amounts of heat, which will actually kill a lot of the worms. They're sitting in this space that is a bank of pretty normal temperature all the way across.
Yeah. Constant temperature.
So they're fabulous in that respect.
They're fantastic. They're neat. They're tidy. They're easy. They're small. They're so easy to deal with. So do check them out at wormley.com.au. Okay, my turn to have a quick chat if there's any time left.
Of course there's time. We can talk forever.
We can just keep talking. I am thoroughly enjoying my hydrangeas and gardenias, which are currently blooming beautifully, and I'm looking forward to putting them in the ground because Keith has done a beautiful design for me for the last part of our garden. So
last.
Well, that's part of that, the side and the front will all be done together. So I
really?
I think, don't we?
Oh, well, that'll be good.
We might as well get it done.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward to them going into the ground. They'll be beautiful because they have come from our previous garden, which actually they were planted by my mum.
Isn't that beautiful?
We bought the house from her. many, many years ago, and so it's lovely to have those for some memories. And I just love hydrangeas. Some people don't like them, but I absolutely love them.
Love them.
The dahlias are dahlias that we were kindly given by the Dahlia Society of Victoria. Mine have mostly popped up. They took them some time, but one hasn't, sadly. So I think one might have rotted, but they've popped up, which is great. And yours are actually quite tall, aren't they?
Yeah, mine would be probably around about 2 to 3 feet tall, some of them.
Mine are a bit behind, but anyway, they've come through, which is fantastic. And so I'm looking forward to seeing them flower in another few weeks. I am tomatoes. Now, you very kindly gave us some tomato seedlings, which is lovely. And they've been in the ground for, I don't know, probably 6 weeks.
Oh, easy, yeah.
6, 8 weeks?
Maybe 8 weeks, yeah.
But Matt, the landscaper, came over yesterday to talk about our next design, the next job, and looked at the tomatoes and said, you've got to thin them out. You've got to thin them out. They're not looking great. They're not going to, the quality of the tomatoes is not going to be good if you don't thin them out. So I thinned them out so much that I'm a bit scared I've overdone it.
You might have overdone it. Never mind. You'll still get tomatoes. That'll be fine. This is an incredibly late year for tomatoes.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be getting the bulk of our tomatoes for sourcing and everything else in April.
That is late.
Yeah, very late. We normally do that in March.
What is it? That's because we had the rain that we had earlier.
Yeah, we've had a very, very cold start to the spring.
Yeah.
Normally you put your tomatoes in around about Cup Day down here. And that was just too cold. The soil temperature was still in below the 20-degree mark. So they need that heat. They're one of those sorts of plants that need that heat.
I'm looking at them out there, and there are some flowers on there, so I'll get some tomatoes.
You'll get flowers, yeah.
Tomatoes.
Fruit. The nice thing about that is that by cleaning out all those superfluous branches, you're allowing the pollination from the flowers to be more reactive.
Yes, and there's air getting through, which wasn't getting through enough, because I thought I'd sort of done enough, but I obviously hadn't, and then I've gone to the extreme.
Never mind.
There's only a few bits left anyway.
We live and learn.
I know. My verbena bonariensis has been flowering beautifully. Thank you very much.
Yep.
But some of the flowers are starting to brown off, so I'm drastically pruning those as well. Deadheading every time I see a flower and looks slightly off or brown. I get rid of that, so we've hardly got any verbena left. It's sort of scarred me slightly, so I'm wondering if I should maybe do something different next year. Yeah. Because they're not going to go away, are they? So they can pop up everywhere, and I can put something else.
Looking out in that front garden, you've got them above the fence there, and they're just moving in the breeze, and they look absolutely stunning.
So I will leave them there, but I might move them otherwise. We are having we've got a guest coming up in a couple of weeks called Chloe Thompson. Now I think we're looking forward to this. For those of our listeners who don't know Chloe, she is a horticulturalist who wears many hats as a presenter, a content creator, a copywriter. She has a very popular social media page under the name of Bean There Dug That, Bean as in BEAN, the vegetable, and has also created an online gardening course called Sprout School. For the past few years, Chloe has had the role as MC at the Melbourne International Flower and Garden Show, and we're looking forward to talking to her about what's coming up at this year's show. So that's
we might hear some interesting things,
inside information. So I'm looking forward to that.
That'd be good, really good.
I think that's really good. We've got to finish it now. That comes, I think, to the end of another episode of Loose Leaf. As always, we enjoy taking a moment to reflect on what's been happening in and around our gardens. You didn't talk about your garden at all, but anyway, Don't worry about it. And we hope there might be some snippets in our conversation that might be of interest or inspiration to everyone out there. So thanks again for listening to us, and happy gardening. Thank you for listening to Muddy Boots. For more information on today's podcast, please go to muddyboots.net.au, and happy gardening.